What happens when the man you just disrespected turns out to be your boss's boss? The kind of man who does not raise his voice, does not flash his wealth, and does not warn you twice. This is the moment when a small decision becomes a very expensive mistake. It was just after 6:30 p.m. when Reuben Ellington exited Loop 101 and turned into the shaded driveway of the Sierra Madre Resort in Scottsdale, Arizona. The sun was still fierce, refusing to cool even as evening approached. Heat shimmered off the pavement, and the mountains in the distance glowed orange and pink, as if the sky had been painted with watercolors. Reuben eased the car into a parking space, shifted into park, and released a slow breath. In the back seat, his 9-year-old daughter Aubrey had finally fallen asleep. Her cheek rested against the window, lips slightly open. Her old tablet had slipped from her hands and now showed a frozen cartoon scene on its screen. Reuben sat there quietly for a moment. He did not rush. He did not think too deeply. He simply took it all in. The drive from San Diego had taken nearly 6 hours, including gas stops and a couple of fast food bathroom breaks. Truthfully, he did not need to be here, not personally, but something about the trip felt important, necessary. The Sierra Madre had just finished a 6-month renovation managed by his firm. Reuben owned the property, but his name was never advertised. That was on purpose. He preferred to keep his investments quiet. Still, this trip was not about business, it was about a promise. Aubrey's birthday was 2 days away. Ever since she had seen photos of the resort and its indoor waterfall lobby, she had talked about it non-stop. So Reuben made a choice. No Disney, no crowds, no noise, just peace, just the two of them. He glanced at her in the rear-view mirror. "Hey, baby girl," he said gently, tapping the steering wheel. Aubrey stirred and blinked. "Are we here?" Reuben smiled. "We're here." She stretched and sat up. "Can we swim tonight?" "Let's check in first," he said, "then we'll see about the pool." He stepped out into the dry desert heat. His knees cracked slightly, a reminder from years overseas. Some aches never leave, no matter how comfortable life becomes. He walked around and opened Aubrey's door. She climbed out carefully, clutching her pink backpack like it was fragile glass. Reuben did not look like a wealthy man. He wore a navy t-shirt, cargo shorts, and worn running shoes that had seen better days. His hair was cut close. His face was clean, shaven. His skin carried the look of someone used to discipline and sunlight. Years in the Marines had shaped him, but he was not here to be noticed. He was here to rest. He pulled Aubrey's small suitcase from the trunk and walked toward the entrance, her hand in his. The lobby was cool and smelled faintly of lavender and cedar. The soft sound of the indoor waterfall echoed just like in the photos. Aubrey's eyes widened. "Look," she said, "it's real water." Reuben smiled. "Told you." 3 staff members stood behind the front desk. 2 were chatting and laughing at something on a phone. The third, a sharply dressed young woman with dark lipstick and a name tag that read Mackenzie, looked up as they approached. Reuben nodded politely. "Good evening, checking in, Reuben Ellington. The reservation should be under Ellington Travel Partners." Mackenzie's smile faded as she looked him up and down. Her fingers stopped moving. "Do you have a confirmation number?" she asked, avoiding eye contact. Reuben raised an eyebrow but kept his voice calm. "Shouldn't need one. We own the property. I booked through the firm last week. 5 nights, deluxe suite, just me and my daughter." Mackenzie gave a tight smile. One moment, she clicked through the system with exaggerated movements, glancing at him like he was wasting her time. After a few seconds, she sighed. "I'm sorry, sir, but we're fully booked for the week. There must have been a mistake." Reuben blinked. "That doesn't seem right." "It happens," she said casually, already turning away. "You can try the hotel across the street." Reuben looked down at Aubrey. She had gone quiet. Her eyes moved between them. "Could you double-check?" he asked, but Mackenzie had already called the next guests, a couple in golf shirts with brand, new luggage. Her smile returned instantly. "Welcome to Sierra Madre," she said brightly. Reuben stepped back, his jaw tightened not with anger but with control, the kind learned in war zones, courtrooms and boardrooms. He bent down. "Let's sit for a minute," he whispered to Aubrey. They moved to a bench near the waterfall. Aubrey hugged her backpack. "Daddy," she asked softly, "did they forget our room?" He forced a smile. "I don't think they forgot. I think they didn't look." "Why?" He paused. "Sometimes people decide things based on what they think they see, not what's real." She frowned. "But we belong here." "Yes," he said, "we do." He stood and walked back alone. Mackenzie sighed as he approached again. "Sir, I already told you." "I heard you," Reuben said calmly. "Please type Ellington Travel Partners and check the file." She hesitated, then typed. Her face changed for a split second. Recognition, then denial. "Nope," she said quickly, "nothing there." Reuben nodded once and stepped away. He sat near a planter and made a call. "Lisa, I'm at Sierra Mare." "Yes, they say it's full. Can you confirm the booking?" A moment later his phone buzzed. "Confirmed. 5 nights. Room 314. No." He texted back. "Give them one more chance." He returned to the desk. This time a man named Calvin stepped forward. Calvin typed. "It's here," he said. "Room 314. Mackenzie froze. "I'd like to speak to your assistant general manager." Reuben said. Calvin hesitated. "She's not available." "I'll wait." They waited. Up in the suite later, the view was perfect. Camelback Mountain glowed in the distance. Aubrey ran to the balcony, but Reuben's phone buzzed again. He typed one message. "Send the district director my number. I'm here until Thursday." 10 minutes later, there was a knock. Amelia Rowe, the assistant GM, stood at the door. "Do you know who I am?" Reuben asked. "Yes," she admitted. "Then you know this wasn't a mistake?" She nodded. "I don't want a scene," he said. "I want accountability." The next morning, he watched again. Patterns repeated. Another guest brushed off. "That was enough. This hotel is mine." Reuben said calmly at the desk. Silence followed. He wasn't done anymore. He was correcting. The lobby grew quiet after Reuben spoke. Calvin looked like someone who had just realized the ground beneath him was not as solid as he thought. Mackenzie did not move at all. Her face had gone pale and her hands rested stiffly on the desk, fingers locked together. Reuben did not raise his voice. He did not repeat himself. He simply stepped back to Aubrey, who sat nearby swinging her legs, headphones on, watching a cartoon like nothing in the world was wrong. "Did you fix it again?" she asked. "I'm working on it," he said, giving her a small smile. Within minutes, things changed. People whispered. Phones appeared. Staff members glanced at Reuben, then looked away quickly. The front desk suddenly moved with more urgency than before. The young black man who had been denied his booking earlier was escorted toward the elevators by the same hostess who had seated Reuben the night before. She walked with her head high and her voice confident. Reuben watched her go. That mattered. By midday, the mood inside the hotel felt different. It was subtle, but it was there. The smiles were more careful. The greetings felt more intentional. Reuben noticed which ones were real and which ones were practiced. He and Aubrey spent the late morning at the pool. Aubrey laughed loudly as she splashed in the shallow end, chasing a floating noodle like it was treasure. Reuben sat nearby, sunglasses on, watching everything without looking like he was watching at all. Employees passed by, some nodded, some avoided eye contact. No one approached him. That was fine. At 2:47 p.m., his phone vibrated. Amelia is waiting in the executive lounge, regional director present. Reuben sighed softly. So they had decided to take this seriously now. He dried off, brought Aubrey a snack, and told her he needed a few minutes. The executive lounge was quiet. Amelia stood near the window. Beside her was a man in his mid-50s, bald, clean suit, no tie. His badge read Gordon Presley, regional director. Gordon stepped forward immediately. "Mr. Ellington, thank you for meeting with us." Reuben shook his hand and sat down. "I flew in this morning," Gordon continued. "We reviewed everything. I want to personally apologize." Reuben nodded. "You read the report?" "Yes." Then you know this wasn't a computer error. Gordon hesitated, then nodded. It was a failure in judgment. That's a polite way to say it. Reuben replied calmly. Amelia spoke quickly. Mackenzie has been placed on administrative leave pending review. We are also reviewing staff conduct and retraining procedures. Reuben raised his hand. I'm not here for buzzwords. They fell silent. I built this place to be better, he said. Not just nicer rooms, better values. When someone walks through that door, they should feel welcome, not evaluated. Gordon leaned forward. What would you like us to do? I want this used, Reuben said, not buried, names, details, consequences, not a quiet email. They nodded, and I want every guest who was brushed off to get a personal apology. No vouchers, no excuses. Gordon agreed. Reuben stood, good. As he left, he paused. Next time your staff makes a mistake like this, make sure it's not someone who owns the place. He did not wait for a response. That evening, the hotel felt calmer. Later, Aubrey ordered room service and ate fries on the couch while watching a movie. Reuben sat nearby, reading but listening. The next morning, everything felt different again. Calvin greeted him with respect, not fear. The hostess smiled warmly. Staff stood straighter. During breakfast, an older couple requested to move away from Reuben and Aubrey. The server hesitated. The hostess intervened smoothly, moving the couple without comment. Later, the hostess quietly apologized to Reuben. You handled it well, he said. That matters. By late morning, Reuben noticed Mackenzie had not returned to the desk. Her absence was noticed by everyone. In the afternoon, as Aubrey browsed the gift shop with birthday money in her hand, Mackenzie appeared quietly behind them. I wanted to apologize, she said softly. Reuben listened. She was sincere. Thank you, he replied. Learn from it. She nodded and walked away. On their final morning, Calvin brought them water and muffins for the drive. We won't forget, he said. Reuben believed him. As they pulled away, Aubrey smiled from the back seat. Daddy, she said, you're like a secret hero. Reuben smiled. No, just your dad. Because real power does not shout, it corrects, it watches, and it remembers. The last morning came quietly. No tension. No tight shoulders. Just the soft desert light spilling into the room as the sun rose behind the mountains. Reuben was awake before his alarm, like always. Old habits never really leave. He stood on the balcony with a cup of bad hotel coffee, watching the resort slowly come to life. Below him, staff members moved with purpose. Chairs were aligned, towels were stacked. A bellhop held the door open for an older woman and smiled, not the forced kind, but the easy kind. Reuben noticed those details now. He always had. Inside, Aubrey stood on the couch, tangled in a blanket, cartoon credits rolling on the TV. She rubbed her eyes and smiled when she saw him. Is it morning already? Yeah, he said. Last one? She sat up. Do we still have time for pancakes? He laughed. Always. They packed slowly, no rush. When they stepped into the hallway, Reuben felt it again, the shift. It was not dramatic. No banners, no apologies shouted across the lobby, just awareness. People looked up, not to judge, to acknowledge. In the elevator, Calvin stepped in with them. He stood a little straighter than before. Good morning, Mr. Ellington, he said. Hope you slept well. We did, Reuben replied. Calvin hesitated, then spoke again. I just wanted to say thank you, not for calling anyone out, but for how you did it. Reuben nodded once. That's the only way that works. Breakfast was calm. Aubrey drowned her pancakes in syrup and talked nonstop about school friends and how she wanted a pool like this at home. Reuben listened, smiling, letting her fill the space with things that still felt simple. As they finished, the hostess from before walked over. I wanted you to know, she said quietly. A lot of us talked after that meeting. It mattered. Some people needed to hear it. Reuben stood. You were already doing things right. Just keep doing that. She smiled, relieved. As they crossed the lobby one last time, Amelia stepped out from behind the desk. Mr. Ellington, she said. I won't keep you long. I just wanted you to know corporate approved the new guest handling policy this morning. Chain-wide. Reuben paused. Good, and, she added, we're restructuring front desk oversight. No one works alone on booking decisions anymore. That's smart, he said. She nodded. I also wanted to say, thank you for not turning this into a spectacle. Reuben looked at Aubrey, who was busy spinning in a slow circle, watching the waterfall splash behind her. She was watching, he said. That matters more than anything. Outside, the air was already warming. Calvin appeared again with 2 cold water bottles and a paper bag. Road snacks, he said, muffins from the kitchen. Reuben accepted them. Thank you. Calvin met his eyes. We won't forget. I hope not, Reuben replied. He buckled Aubrey into the back seat and slid into the driver's seat. As the car rolled out of the driveway, Aubrey leaned forward between the seats. Daddy, she said, did they learn their lesson? Reuben thought for a moment. Some did, some are still learning. That's okay, she said. Learning takes time, he smiled. You're right. As the resort disappeared in the rearview mirror, Reuben felt something settle inside him. He had not come to prove who he was. He had not come to punish. He had come to observe, to correct, to make sure the place he built matched the values he believed in, because respect costs nothing to give. But ignoring it can cost everything, and sometimes the man you overlook is the man who decides what happens next.